Alright guys, this is Stepmom Talk Pet Peeves number 4. Alright, here we go. No parental supervision. This is something that bugs me really bad. Now, I'm not talking about your kid being in the backyard playing. Yeah, absolutely, your kid can be in your backyard playing. If you live on a 10-acre field, absolutely let your kid go out and run. It's their property. It's in the fence. Go for it. I do think that kids can play outside and be resourceful. I also think that kids' imaginations grow a little bit more when they're not, like they're in their backyard and they're not having to be supervised. Or, I'm kind of on the fence with this one. I would say even the front yard. At the same time, there needs to be an age where they're allowed to be out there in the front yard with no supervision. I lived in a cul-de-sac. We knew to stay inside that cul-de-sac and not to leave. And honestly, the friends in the neighborhood came to us. So, but my mom usually was in the kitchen actually watching us still. She was just watching it from the comfort of the kitchen. But even with that said, I'm more saying no to that just because of everything that tends to happen to kids now. But in your backyard, absolutely. And I do think we were a little bit more creative because we didn't have adults around, which I feel has benefited me today. However, I have a problem with no parental supervision when you are not at home. For instance, this kind of goes back to a lot of places. So I had taken my nieces and my nephew to the park, and these little girls had come from one of the townhomes. I don't even think they were sisters. Townhomes, apartments next door, and they were walking down the trail. Not a big deal. I wasn't comfortable with leaving my children because that park is a beautiful park, but it can get fairly busy. And honestly, you're hooked up to a lot of woods back there. And so that would not have been something I would have been comfortable with. But these little girls start bringing their little shopping cart, I guess I think it was from Walmart, down there. And they started to, like, get into all our stuff. Now, that wasn't the problem. The problem of them wanting to come and play was not really a problem. I didn't mind that. But when they started going through our stuff, I was like, okay, this is when you need a parent to say, hey, get out of their stuff. It's not yours. And you, not even as a parent, you kind of feel like you have to protect the child because you don't know who's around you. There was a homeless person that lived around there. And he had a shopping cart full of stuff. And sometimes he would be in the distance and sometimes he would come where the kids were. And I'm not saying that homeless people are all bad, but that just made me uncomfortable, and I believe in listening to my intuition. Then there were times where we ended up leaving early because of that whole incident. But then there's times like now, just a couple days ago, we saw these kids not have any, well, this has happened a couple times, but not have any parental supervision at all where we live. And we live in an apartment complex, and I know this is supposed to be like their home and stuff, but I'm sorry, I would not be sending my child, even though I can look out my balcony and I can see the playground. I do not feel comfortable with my kids being out there alone. One, I don't know who's going to walk up. Two, if I just go to the bathroom, something can happen. And my son is 12. Now, there are times where we do kind of give him a little bit of space, but he doesn't realize we're actually still watching him. And there are times where it's like, okay, you can go do this and then come right back to see, you know, how long did it take him to get down there? How long did it take him to get back? It does give him a little independence, but it's not a lot. Now, he's also not playing on the playground either. He's more trying to skateboard and stuff. So, anyway, I just felt like these kids were running all over the apartment, and I was like, how as parents, if you sent them to the playground and then you peek out and they're not there, that would just scare me to death. What we ended up finding out was I had gone into the apartment before I saw them walking down the path. I had gone into the apartment. Oh, and that was another thing. I was doing laundry, and they were like cussing each other out, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so rude. And I know partly they probably did it because there was no adult supervision, so it didn't matter what they said. And then a part of it was like, what? So I had taken the clothes. I had just gone up there, walking down the path. I had just gone up with the clothes. Billy had come down. I don't remember if he was getting a load of laundry for me or if he was trying to get something out of the vehicle or what. He comes back into the apartment and he says, I gotta show you something. So he opens the door and there's a picket missing off the fence. And sometimes that happens and or a part of the picket will come off or whatever. But this is actually a fairly new fence. And he said they had taken the picket off the fence and they had busted it. And it was like 3 little pieces right by where the fence was. And he said then they ran off. And he said he noticed that when they were like pulling it off the fence that it was breaking. And I was like, okay, that takes some strength to be able to pull a picket off the fence. I was like, I said with 2 of them it probably was easier. But you have to deliberately try to pull that off the fence. And I said, even if it's not done, the fence is not done that well, you still have to pull it off the fence. So, things happen that you don't know as a parent because you're not out there supervising your kid. Something else could have happened 10 times worse. You don't know who your neighbors are. You don't know if they're going to watch out for your kids, if they're going to try to parent your kids, if they're going to try to be like, hey, don't do that. And then some people, they're afraid to do that these days because they feel like they're going to get yelled at for you're not their parent, blah, 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 blah. So that is a pet peeve, is when you're watching these little kids and they're young. They don't know everything. They might know that's wrong, that's right, or they may not know, or they may be, something could happen that you have no clue because you're not out there. So, yeah, that is definitely a pet peeve. If you have a pet peeve that I have not mentioned, or if this is a particular pet peeve of yours, please start talking in the comments below. If you're not comfortable talking in the comments, you can always instant message me on Instagram. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you later.